Sure thing. Rob Pierce, Marilyn Kramer,
Here.
Michael Flick,
Here.
David Jackaman,
Here.
Tina Gonfiantiti,
Here.
Dan Lasareski,
Here.
Carl Nieberlein,
Good.
Shelley Reed.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We all please join us in saluting the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, so we have an agenda. I don't have any changes on it. Can we get a motion to approve as written?
Motion to approve.
We get a second? All those in favor say aye.
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 All right. Did everybody, do we have any public comment?
We have none.
No public comment. Everybody get a chance to look at the minutes. Do we have any changes? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve as written?
Motion to approve.
A second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. We have
there's
there's no consent agenda. Business of the day. First of all, I'd like to introduce Tina Gonfantini. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that.
You got very close. Thank you.
Welcome to the board.
Appreciate it.
All right, glad to have you here. And for the first business of the day, it's item number 7A. It's a training segment put on by Nate. Nate, floor is yours. Train us.
Maybe. Lovely. Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. For the record, Nate Kusha, policy analyst, Team RPA. A lot of you have done a few or quite a few, depending on how long you've been on the commission, training opportunities. We are going to go over some kind of brief updates to kind of how we're going to approach the RPC training going forward. So that'll be very brief, very quick. And then we're going to do a little training item today on the regional land designations, also known as the tiers. So with that, like I said, brief synopsis of our training going forward. So we're going to do these bi-monthly now, starting with this month, February. We'll do a training presentation given by staff here, and that can count towards your hours towards the training, which a state law rather requires that you need 12 hours of training for the Regional Planning Commission. We have updated our RPC training portal on our website, or rather, we are in the process of updating. We had some technical difficulties with our website today, so it will be updated hopefully in the next day or two, and we'll send an email to you guys when it is finally updated for sure with the link, so you can go check these things out. But on the training portal, there'll be the presentations given at the commission meetings that you can see the slides, and also link to the video of the presentation. There's links to content to review. So for each training, we'll kind of have related content. A lot of them will probably be related to our regional plan because that's mostly what we deal with, right? So you'll see that, like, for instance, today's training is on the regional land designations, and we're asking you guys to look over the regional form policy section of the regional plan with specific, paying specific attention to the regional land designation policies. And those will be listed out with the link to the plans. You can access it all right on the training portal. And then we'll also be doing quizzes, I'm calling them, on our training portal, which are very brief, very easy, just a few questions. And that's really just so we can ensure that we're meeting that 12 hours. So you guys can go on there, take the quiz, so we can track who's kind of taking the quiz, and we can track who's keeping up on the hours. So yet again, 12 hours are required. This is a state law requirement for the Regional Planning Commission, and this is how we're going to approach it going forward. So.
Hi, Jeremy Smith for the record. Just wanted to butt in. Sorry, Nate. I'll check with legal, but I think the 12 hours is the total training. So if you've done the training before, you might choose to lightly approach this content, but it's really useful stuff. And so even if you've already been trained in our previous, mechanism, it's worthwhile. And certainly for new members, it is the 12 hours are required. So thank you, Nate.
Yes, true. If you've done the training, you don't necessarily need to go on, do the quizzes, access the content there, but we'll still be doing these presentations that can count towards hours if you still need to complete, but it is 12 hours overall. So for new members, please do these, and once we hit 12 hours, you can just do it as you please. So with that, we'll move on to tonight's topic, which is our regional land designations. So, as you can see above, we have specific NRS requirements for the regional plan, and that is from subsection 3 there of 278.0274. You can see limiting premature expansion of development into undeveloped areas, preserving neighborhoods, revitalizing urban areas, directing new housing to older areas. And then as well as that, there's subsection 4, which talks about classifying future land uses and allow for a variety of uses and address mixed use, etc. So one of the big outcomes of our 2019 regional plan update was the regional land designations. And this is really a way to meet those NRS requirements. So our regional form section of our regional plan is where the regional land designation policies live. And a regional form is really a way of describing the desired pattern of growth, addresses those NRS requirements. And there's two main kind of constructs that define a regional form, which is the land within the TMSA or Truckee Meadows Services area, which is where we expect most of our growth and municipal level services to be provided. That's our sort of de facto service boundary. And that is comprised of 4 tiers, which is the mixed use core, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, those regional land designations. And we'll get into those a little bit more detailed, what those mean on the next slide. And then there's the land outside of our Truckee Meadows Services area, which is known as the rural area regional land designation. So the rural area regional land designation is also further defined by things such as the rural development areas, freestanding communities, and resort service areas. I'm not going to go too in depth on those. They're very specific. We don't see them very often, but they are in the plan for you guys to take a look at to see what those are really all about. And our regional land designations really get at that limiting premature expansion and promoting infill into the core of our region. It's aligning our development with our facilities and service provisioning and kind of maximizing our investment in those infrastructure, as well as maximizing the utilization of land within the TMSA. So as I mentioned, the TMSA boundary really defines where we expect majority of our growth. I believe the plan says 99% of our growth within the TMSA. And we want to really kind of hold that boundary as long as we can. So currently we have at least 20 years of growth potential that can be accommodated within the TMSA, and really probably more likely, around 40 plus years of growth. So we want to maximize our land the way we use it within the TMSA so that we're not having to expand further out. So how do we do that? Our regional land designations. So this is our map 2 of the regional plan, the regional form map. This shows all of the different regional land designations or tiers, as you can see. So we'll kind of walk through these, what they all mean briefly. So that darkest blue color kind of in the core there is our mixed use core. And what that is really where we anticipate and prioritize the highest densities and intensities of growth. It's our highest priority for investment. It's very infill focused, and it really does reflect the jurisdictional master plan boundaries for their mixed use land uses as well. Intensification in that tier is most desired. Moving to tier 1, that's the slightly lighter blue, just around the mixed use core there, still very much kind of in the core of our metro area. And this is area within the TMSA where moderate and varying range development is expected. A variety of residential and non-residential uses exist in this area. Most of this tier is really already developed or within close proximity to existing development. The public facilities and services, again, in this tier are generally already in place. As we said, it's mostly developed. The goal in creating tier 1 is to really optimize that existing infrastructure, like we kind of mentioned before, and again, prioritizing that growth into kind of the core of our region. Then we move out to that lighter shade of blue before we kind of hit that gray one, and that is our tier 2 land. So this is generally less dense development. It's really kind of at suburban levels. And there's still a variety of residential and non-residential uses. The public facility and services, again, is currently in place or in this tier is planned for. And this tier really does align with the jurisdictional master plan city boundaries. So for City of Sparks and City of Reno, their city and sphere boundaries are included in that tier 2 land use designation. So then we move into our tier 3. So this is generally on the periphery. As you can see, it's kind of that grayish color inside the TMSA boundary still. Very low density development, or is undeveloped or contains significant development constraints. Also, kind of this area, the facilities and service information is generally less available, and thus additional review is required to intensify in these areas. And we'll talk about that in another slide coming up. I do want to emphasize in this area, the maximum density is whatever the currently existing density is. That's what our regional plan sets. So if they want to do anything more dense, it has to come into a higher tier to do that. I will say existing entitlements in this area are allowed. So that's important to note. And then finally, outside that black line of blob of our TMSA is our rural area. So you can see kind of on the regional form map, the TMSA and the zoomed in version on the right, you see the TMSA just at the bottom there, and then you see the entirety of Washoe County. So the rest of Washoe County is within our rural area regional land designation, except for those purple shaded areas, which are tribal lands, and the black area right around Lake Tahoe there, which is the Lake Tahoe Basin, which those are not included in TMRPA's jurisdiction. So we do not have authority over those areas. And so the rest of that, though, is the rural area, and this is restricted to very low density development, consists of dispersed development and employment on large parcels of land, things like ranches, 1 per 40, 1 dwelling unit per 40 acres sort of development, things of those natures, and public facilities and services are limited, and they cannot actually be extended from the TMSA to the rural area, so they have to kind of be self-sufficient. All right, let's talk about amending these tiers. So while each tier has a minimum and maximum density requirement associated with them, a regional plan amendment process does allow a jurisdiction to request a tier change or regional land designation amendment. So this really provides the opportunity for a thorough analysis of land use requests before intensifying land in a lower tier, and does ensure that the Regional Planning Governing Board is afforded an opportunity to participate in the decision-making process for these sorts of decisions. So what we really intend this to be is we have the master plan land uses, which are set by the jurisdiction's master plans, right? And you guys review any changes to those at the regional level as well for a conformance review. Those are kind of nested in the master plans, and we're saying, okay, generally we've agreed on this. If we want to make a change, we'll run it through the Regional Planning Commission for a conformance review. What we see the tiers are is needing a little bit more scrutiny and a little bit more attention. And so when we're looking for a tier change, we're saying maybe we haven't agreed on a regional level of the density that you're seeking for this land. And so if you want to change that, you're coming into a higher tier to increase that density. We want to run it all the way up the flagpole, give those elected officials a chance to kind of give a yay or nay on whether we agree on that or not. So this increased level of scrutiny is appropriate given the potential density increases associated with a change in tier. It is a criteria-based approach. We have those criteria we'll talk about in just a second and what it really means when we do an analysis of a request for any of these. And it really regionalizes this idea of the TMSA. So prior to the 2019 update, we had each jurisdiction sort of had their own TMSA bucket, an allowance of what they could do with their portion of the TMSA. And the 2019 update, from our perspective, we were really like, well, we're a regional entity. We need to look at this from a regional perspective. And so we kind of took the jurisdictional aspect out of it. And we said, how can we look at this regionally so that everybody is afforded the same opportunity to densify in their areas if they can prove up things like, is the infrastructure there? Facilities and services available? Does this make sense in this area? What are the constraints? Things of that nature. So this is especially important, I would say, in Tier 3 when they're looking to move up because, as I mentioned, Tier 3 locked into the existing density for their maximum density. And so if they want to do more than that, we want to say, okay, well, now we're opening this up to, a lot more density theoretically. And so we want to see, does this really make sense? Is this feasible? Are the facilities and services available? So as I mentioned, here's our criteria for a regional land designation amendment, and this is really outlined in Regional Plan Policy RF5. And so there's specific criteria beyond our normal conformance review or regional plan amendment criteria for regional land designation amendments, and that is Policy RF5 as mentioned. So these are things like the proximity to the proposed tier. If you're looking to go into tier 2, are you close to tier 2? Are you adjacent? What does that look like? Are you meeting the density requirements of the proposed tier? We don't want to move something into a tier when it's not meeting the requirements of that tier. We want to make sure you're enhancing housing diversity. We're looking for the potential for connectivity of trails and transit, things like that. And then again, a big one is the availability of our facilities and services for any of these requests. For TMSA amendments, so this is if you are in the rural area and you're looking to come into the TMSA. This is special criteria for this. It's a much bigger change because we're opening up new land now to serve with facilities and services that, as I mentioned before, we can't extend facilities and services from the TMSA outside of the TMSA. So if you're looking for that, we want to make sure we can accommodate that. What does that look like? We only look at these once a year in our October timeframe. And really the biggest difference with these is the indication of the regional need. So the question of why can the request not be achieved within the existing TMSA footprint? So if you're looking to come in the TMSA, why can't we do what you're looking to do already in the TMSA? And can you prove up on that? So making sure that we really are indicating we need that land to come in and to be able to serve that. So I think I hit on everything. I'm sure Director Smith will chime in if not, but that's basically where we're at. And I did want to mention, we do have one of these coming up in our 7C item on the agenda. So that's why we wanted to make sure we hit this first, make sure you guys know what is going on with this and refresh those of you who already do. So we do have a tier change amendment on the agenda tonight. So with that, any questions?
This 12 hours, this is just, it's not once a year, right? It's
Correct.
just-
No, it is an overarching 12 hours from when you start on the commission.
Okay. All right.
Great.
This is Jeremy Smith for the record, and we support you doing 12 hours a year. We support it.
I'm not in charge. Okay. That's what I would assume, but okay. All right. Anybody have any questions? No? Thank you.
Great.
Appreciate you. All right. So moving on to 7B, before we open it, do we have any disclosures?
Yes, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Jockman, for the record. On this matter, I have sought guidance from the legal counsel. I will state the same disclosure as I stated when this item came before us at the City of Reno. I am currently working on a project in Washoe County where we are under contract with a consortium of property owners. While I and my employer have no contract or agreement with Mr. Krumpatek, the applicant representative, he frequently consults on project decisions which involve me separately. Loomis and Associates are a consultant of ours on a project in the city of Fernley that I am working on. In this agreement, they are employed by my firm, Kimley Horn. Here I do not have a commitment in a private capacity to the interests of the applicant or their representatives and can be fair and impartial in my deliberation regarding this item. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
We good? Okay. Jessica says we're good. All right.
All right.
Go ahead.
All right, Shawnee Sousa, Team RPA for the record. Tonight, I'm going to take you guys through a project of regional significance and a regional plan amendment. This is for the Riverbend Power Line relocation, case number CR25-023 and RPA 26-001. All right, so just starting with an overview. As I said, this is a project of regional significance and a regional plan amendment to establish a regional utility corridor to accommodate the relocation of a portion of an existing 120 kilovolt electric transmission line. I'm going to go through in the following slides and explain why it's a PRS and an RPA as well. But just to orient you a little more, we have our regional form map on the right, and the subject site is shown in orange. It's located south of Highway 40 West, directly south of its intersection with Edinburgh Drive. And it's about 14 acres in size, so it's really just a small portion of the utility corridor that's going to be relocated. And for our staff determination, we do recommend that the regional plan amendment and project of regional significance conforms with the regional plan. So just to give you guys a little bit of background and show you where we were and where we've been, on the right, we have a snapshot of our subject site. It shows our existing utility corridor and our proposed. And the existing is shown in orange. It's kind of going straight across the site there. The proposed is that blue line. You can kind of see it zigzag down. And then another line that was proposed and approved is that yellow line that kind of arches over. However, that line was never completed. The lines were never moved. So we just wanted to show you guys, yes, we've seen this, but the reason that we're showing this now is it's City of Reno has gone through a tentative map in CUP. And so through that, they now have a better idea of what's going to go on the ground. So this is going to better align with the development that they have that's 82 units. And so that is why we're seeing it again, this relocation. So that yellow line, again, it does not exist. It was not completed. That's going to go away. And the blue line is what's being proposed to hook into the orange line that is our existing utility corridor. And okay, so now we're back to here. So it was approved at the Reno Planning Commission, and they recommended the Regional Plan Utility Map Amendment, which went to the Reno City Council, and they sponsored the utility map amendment. And that's where we are now. It was formally submitted to Team RPA that same day. So why is this a project of regional significance and a regional plan amendment? So the relocation of a utility line carrying 60 kilovolts or more, in this case it's 120, qualifies as a project of regional significance. And this is found in policy RC6 of the regional plan, which connects the requirements that are found in PRS to the Nevada revised statutes. Those are further defined and adopted by the RPC, which is an appendix 2 of the regional plan. A new electric substation, a new transmission line that carries 60 kilovolts or more, and a new facility that generates electricity greater than 5 megawatts are all listed and require approval for the RPC prior to establishing or constructing. So that's why it's a PRS. We also have other thresholds, such as employment or housing numbers that you'll see as projects of regional significance. We're also going to have a training segment on that in future meetings, so you'll learn a little bit more. But the reason for this one is because it is greater than or equal to that 60 kilovolt, and it is 120. And then the reason it is a regional plan amendment. So on the right, you see the map 3, which is in the plan. We have 5 maps, and this one is specifically our regional utility corridors and sites. So this shows all of our sites, overhead and underground lines. And to establish or relocate, we have to amend this map and reflect it accurately. So we will put this line on the map as well, if approved. And in our October timeframe, we check in to see if it has been constructed or see what's actually on the ground. And as it gets updated, we update this map. All right, and here's our review criteria now that you kind of have the background and the process. So policy RC9 of the 2024 regional plan identifies the 5 factors that the RPC must consider when evaluating conformance. I'll briefly take you through each of these now. So starting with population growth, the relocation of the overhead power line is not anticipated to impact projected growth capacities, and we found no applicable policies for this section. For regional form, we zoomed in a little bit here. The subject site is shown in orange, and around it you can see it's that light blue color, which indicates it's that tier 2 land. And as Nate told you guys about, it is that suburban area where facilities are either in place or planned for. And for this particular land use, we are looking at single-family neighborhood and suburban mixed use. From a regional perspective, this regional utility corridor amendment does not indicate any regional compatibility issues. Next, for public facilities, as I mentioned, the public facilities and services are generally in place to serve any anticipated development in Tier 2, and this proposal is really to better align the facilities for that future development. So natural resources. So for this one, we have, if you look at the bottom of the subject site that's in orange, there's kind of that cream color, and that's indicating DCA or development constraints area. And for this particular case, its slopes that are around 30% or over. But as you can see, the power line is going north. It is going away from that DCA. And also, per policy NR3 development constraints areas, utilities are exempt from the requirements identified in this policy. So it does not apply for this one, and even so, it is moving away from it. And then when considering policy NR4, natural resource consideration areas, the subject site did have various interactions, but they either had very minimal interaction or coverage, and they were addressed by materials submitted by City of Reno staff. So these were things like trails, or as you can see, the Truckee River below, but these are not going to impact this power line relocation. So the proposal to amend the regional plan to add a new regional utility corridor site, or rather relocate, is not anticipated to significantly impact natural resources. Next, for regional coordination, at the beginning of this, so when it, gets submitted for that development review memo, that's before, the commission see it at the local level or before the council sees it. So we take a first stab at it and we let the local level know, okay, what are our thoughts on this? What are we seeing with those natural resource consideration areas? What gets highlighted? And so for this one, we started with that initial review memo, let staff know where we were at. Then it went through that local process through the commission, then the council, and it came here. And once it comes here, we were in discussions with the City of Reno staff as well as the applicant about any questions we had or they had for our process. All right, so this is the review criteria for that second part, which is that regional plan amendment. And really, we hit on, a lot of these through the last presentation, so I'm just going to touch on a couple points here. The proposal to amend map 3 of the regional plan to add the regional utility corridor is not anticipated to influence or impact regional capacities and growth projections, and it is not anticipated to significantly impact natural resources. And as mentioned, the relocation of the transmission line is really intended to optimize the site for future development. When analyzing the case with the vision, goals, and policies of the regional plan, staff did not find any conflicts with the proposed amendment. So we have 2 motions for this. They're both overhead. First is the project of regional significance, and the second is that regional plan amendment. I'm here for any questions or City of Reno staff is too.
Does anybody have any questions? Do we have any public comment?
We have none.
No public comment? Close public comment, bring it back to the board. Somebody like to make a motion? Don't have any
Make a
questions?
motion. I move to find that the Riverbend Power Line relocation project of regional significance is in conformance with the 2024 regional plan based on the findings listed in the staff report.
This is Rob, I'll second that. We have a, can we do them both at the same time? Or should we we'll separate them, okay. So we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the first one, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any opposed, say nay. Okay, that one passed. All right, go on with the next one.
I'll make a motion on the second. I move to adopt RPC Resolution 26-01 regarding an amendment to map 3 of the 2024 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on the findings listed in the staff report.
Okay, this is Rob again. I'll second it. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, both motions pass. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to 7C. Do we have any disclosures? All right. You're up again, Nate.
Good evening again, Commissioners. Nate Kusha for the record. We're going to go ahead and do a conformance review and regional plan amendment for a Washoe County Master Plan Amendment and Regional Land Designation Amendment for the Sun Valley 48 LLC Amendment. All right, so a little overview on the case. As mentioned, this is a proposed tier or regional land designation amendment and a Washoe County Master Plan Amendment. They're seeking to go from suburban residential land use to urban residential and open space. And with that, they would need a tier change to go from tier 3 to tier 2. This was approved and sponsored by the Washoe Board of County Commissioners on January 13th and then submitted to us. The parcels are located in Sun Valley between First Avenue and Second Avenue at their western terminus. You can see on the regional form map up there. And staff's determination is that we do recommend that the proposed amendments do conform and align with the 2024 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan. So as mentioned, this is a conformance review for a master plan land designation land use designation change on 2 parcels totaling roughly 18.4 acres. And again, going from that suburban residential to urban residential and open space. On the map on the left, you can see our existing land use of suburban residential, the black outline being our subject site, and on the right, that urban residential with the open space on the southern portion of the subject site. So in May of 2022, little more background on this, the Washoe County Planning Commission approved the West 2nd Avenue Highlands tentative map, and that allowed for 48 single-family residential lots and some open space. According to the landowner, building the project at that density has not been feasible, and so they have asked for this increase in density allowance. So again, our existing on the left, proposed on the right, and then showing our regional plan amendment overview. So as mentioned, the subject site currently is in Tier 3. You can see on that left side there. As it necessitates an amendment to the Washoe County Master Plan and increasing density, they do need to request the tier change, or did request the tier change from Tier 3 to Tier 2, again, because Tier 3 lands are limited to the existing density allowance. And that existing density is set by that suburban residential land use designation as shown on the previous slide. Tier 2 that they're requesting does allow for up to 30 dwelling units per acre as a maximum. However, the suburban residential land use, the urban residential land use that they're requesting would allow for a maximum of 196 units, which is a 68 dwelling units per acre increase over the current land use designation. So here are our policies that are applicable to this request. We'll go over all of this. So just so you know, the policy overview, our conformance review, our criteria for that is found in policy RC9, followed by our regional plan amendment criteria, which is RC10. And then nested within that is our regional land designation amendment criteria, which is policy RF5, which you can see listed out on the right-hand side of this slide. Again, we'll go through all of this. So just to give you a heads up what we're going for. So again, you just saw this in our last case. Policy RC9 identifies the criteria for a conformance review, which is for our master plan land use designation change or request in this case. So we'll go through those. For population growth, so again, the request would allow for either 140 single-family detached units or up to 196 single-family attached or multifamily units. Again, the potential maximum increase of 68 dwelling units per acre over the currently existing.
Nate, can I interrupt you for a second?
Yes.
I think it's 68 additional units, not 68 dwelling units per acre.
Yes, thank you, my mistake. 68 additional units, so 68 unit increase over the existing. Thank you. That would be a lot. 68 unit increase, thank you. This area does lie within a HUD qualified census tract. So that does allow the applicant to apply for affordable housing initiatives or programs if they so choose to build affordable housing on the property. However, the proposed amendment were not conditioned on the construction of affordable housing. There's no assurance that affordable housing will ultimately be built. That being said, the potential for affordable housing program built on previous nearby tier changes, such as the Chocolate Drive project, which was a home consortium funded project. And you can see that, and see if this works. No, you can't see that. North of the parcel, we have tier 1, but just to the west of that is a little bit of that tier 2 land. That was the Chocolate Drive project. That was an affordable housing project that came through here for a tier change a few years back. So this sort of builds on that. And so while affordable housing initiatives may or may not be sought, based on our own analysis of housing in the region, the increase in density allowance will provide opportunity for more housing variety, which does lead to the potential for more affordable housing units in the region. Again, our subject site there in the orange, looking to go to tier 2. So for regional form, it is located in tier 3. They're requesting to go to tier 2, which is necessitated by this master plan land use request or change request. And development in tier 2 is at suburban levels with a variety of residential and non-residential units. And this proposal really is consistent with what we expect to see in tier 2. The subject site is located in an area that already exhibits the suburban residential, urban residential, and commercial land use designations that you can see on the map here. And so the requested land use is compatible from a regional perspective with the surrounding area. Moving on to that, public facilities and services. The facilities and services are available and adequate for the increase in density requested. The site is located in the Sun Valley Hydrographic Basin, and the Sun Valley General Improvement District has adequate capacity and will provide water and sewer service to the site. A traffic analysis was completed for a conceptual 168-unit development. Again, there's no proposed development at the time, but they did do this conceptual one to get a handle on sort of what the traffic impacts may be. And that estimated around 1,132 average daily trips, or ADT, and also reported that no roadway improvements were needed to accommodate this increase in traffic. For natural resources, overall proposal is not anticipated to significantly impact natural resources. The subject site does contain some development constraints areas for slopes greater than 30%, and that is on that southern portion of the subject site. And all of that area will be encompassed or is proposed to be the open space land use designation anyways, so development is prohibited there. Additionally, in our initial review memorandum, we did note the presence of proposed and connector trails on the subject site. And according to the submitted materials, when development occurs, there will be several trails needing to be required to connect throughout the site and connect the Lewis Allen Elementary School, which is just to the east of our subject site there, built, to the Red Hill Open Space and the future Sun Valley Rim Trail, which is just to the west of our subject site. The intent is that the trails will align and support the development and implementation of the Sun Valley Rim Trail. And for regional coordination, as Cho mentioned, we do our initial review memorandums and we coordinate with the various entities and local jurisdiction all throughout the process, which was done on this case as well. Moving to our policy RC10. So this is the review criteria for the regional plan amendment portion of this request, which is our tier change from tier 3 to tier 2. We've covered most of this material in the previous conformance review criteria, but we'll hit a couple of notes here. So for regional capacities and growth projections, as well as existing and planned developments, the increase in potential residential density due to the proposed tier change is limited to the approximately 18.4 acre site, and the proposed land use allows for a maximum of 68 additional dwelling units. It's not anticipated to negatively influence or impact any existing or planned developments. And the proposed tier change follows similar land use decision-making that was applied north of the subject site in association with the tier amendment to support the Chocolate Drive Affordable Housing Project, as I mentioned, and that was approved back in August of 2022. For our vision, goals, and policies of the regional plan, we did not find any conflicts with the proposed amendment when analyzing the case. And this also encompasses our policy RF5 of regional plan, which is our regional land designation amendment criteria. So we'll step through this and hit all of them. The subject site adjacent to both, or is adjacent to both tier 2 and tier 1 lands, and the proposal meets the density requirements for tier 2, kind of hitting that criteria A and B. And then the request allows for enhanced land use diversity and an increase in density will promote connectivity through the trail requirements mentioned. And finally, the facilities and services are available and adequate to accommodate the proposal, and it is not anticipated to negatively impact land uses in higher priority tiers. And in fact, we think it will actually help to support, again, some of the other recent approvals, namely the Chocolate Drive Affordable Housing approval. So, for a conclusion, we do recommend that the proposal conforms with the applicable policies of the regional plan, and that, again, for our master plan amendment is the RC9 conformance review findings, and for our regional plan amendment, that tier change is policies RF5 and RC10. So, with that, there's some motions overhead. I'm available for any questions you might have, and so is Washoe County staff.
Does anybody have any questions?
Commissioner Jockman, you mentioned the Chocolate Drive project a few times. That is a separate project in its entirety from this project, is that correct?
Correct. It is
Okay.
an entirely separate project. However, we do see this as more investment kind of going into the area, theoretically making the facilities and services more easily achievable for both projects.
Right, thank you.
Anybody else? Do we have any public comment?
We have none.
Okay, bring it back to the board for discussion. Do we have any discussion on this item? If not, I would entertain a motion. Do we have a motion?
Commissioner Lazareski, I move to find the Sun Valley 48 LLC amendment to the Washoe County Master Plan in conformance with the 2024 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on the findings listed in this staff report.
Commissioner Constantini, I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Okay, that motion passed.
I further move to adopt RPC Resolution 2602 regarding an amendment to the 2024 Truckee Meadows Regional Plan based on the findings listed in this staff report.
Commissioner Constantine, I second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay. All right, motion passes. Thank you. Good job, Nate. Good job. Thank you. All right, do we have any reports?
Mr. Chair, Director Smith, for the record, I'd like to do a short report if I could, please.
You bet. Go for it.
Great. I'd like to start with a statement that Chair Pierce, Legal Counsel Prunty, and I came up with to just talk about our recent efforts on regional coordination and improvements there. So I'd like to provide an update on recent efforts by this agency to explore ways we can improve our approach to regional coordination. As you may recall, a subcommittee of the RPC was formed at your, I believe, December meeting and has met once in January to identify existing regional planning coordination mechanisms and policies to discuss opportunities for improvements. Following that initial meeting, we took an item to the Regional Planning Governing Board in February to gather feedback from them, which we will provide to the subcommittee at its next meeting, which we believe will be likely in early next month in March. Now, thereafter, we will provide a status update to this body at our next meeting in March as well, and bring forward any recommendations approved by the subcommittee. So please stay tuned for more info there. I would also like to talk about a couple of things that have been ongoing. About a year ago, a little over a year ago, this body asked us to dig in on data center research. We've continued to do that. You can go to our website and you can see the most up-to-date version of our research findings on our data center and energy website. We heard from the governing board loud and clear in February that we got a little more work to do on this front, especially coordinating with our local jurisdiction partners around the concept of ordinances for data centers. So you can expect to hear more about that. We're working together on that. I also have been doing a few things on the front of data centers in addition to the website work. I presented at the Nevada Water Resources Association conference in Las Vegas with a panel of folks that included NV Energy, DRI, the Tri Center, GID, and Switch, the big data center out there in Story County. So it was a really useful meeting, I think, and I was able to share some info, but also really learn a lot from those perspectives and create some great connections that I can hopefully leverage to keep our research going. I will be going to the Western Nevada Development District Data Center Conference in Lovelock at the end of March. So I'll be updating you on that as well. Moving on from data centers and energy. One more thing about the data centers. Also, we are engaged in trying to overhaul or just update really our policies that we touched today with item 7B, the transmission corridors, regional utility sites, and the like. We want to make it better. We're all just like the regional coordination. We're dedicated to continuously improving how we do business. And so that's an active area, and you can expect to hear about our engagement strategy there over the course of this year. Moving on to trails, as you may know, we've had our hand in the regional trails work that's going on, specifically the Truckee Meadows Trails program. It's another website you can find on our TMRPA webpage. With the recent dissolution-ish last year of the Truckee Meadows Parks Foundation, we really had to step in and make sure that this regional trails work continued. And so in discussions with the chair of the RPGB, and I think I've reported here previously as well, we stepped in and got the trails data back in action, and we're actively maintaining and updating that data so that we have a good handle on our system trails and our system trailheads. But one of the other features that we lost when the Parks Foundation went dark is the regional trails coordinator position, which is really a person dedicated to ensuring that, just like we heard in the Sun Valley case, that we're making sure that in the face of these developments, we're linking to trails that are planned or existing to foster regional connectivity of our trails. And so that is happening. And in order to really facilitate that, we were able to get funding from the Greg Nelson Warren Nelson Family Trust to fund a part-time contracted position for a regional trails coordinator. That selection process is still in process, but we're looking to offer the position to a candidate here in the next few days. So I'll be able to update you next time on if they accept it and who we get. And what that'll mean is that we'll actually have a person who isn't, we will have a computer for them at regional planning, but really they're an independent contractor that will help fulfill this regional coordination role on trails and then Also, it's up to them to sustain their destiny. So to find the funding, right, to keep that position alive in future years. We'll help them. So moving on from trails, I want to update you that we were able to approve at the Regional Planning Governing Board a memorandum of understanding for data sharing with the State Public Charter School Authority. It's very exciting. As you know, that there are the jurisdictions here, Reno, Sparks, Washoe County, and what we call affected entities are all under the purview of the regional plan and conformance review, but state entities or entities like NV Energy that are governed by the PUC are not. Nonetheless, we know that charter schools continue to become more and more a part of our education domain here in the Truckee Meadows. And so even though the SPSCA, that's the State Public Charter School Authority, is not subject directly to our regional plan and conformance review, we are building a relationship with that entity, and we have signed this memorandum of understanding or approved it at the governing board level at the very least to foster that data sharing. And the state is on board. And so we're building that relationship, even though there's no legal requirement, but they recognize, as we all do, that they're part of the education system here in the Truckee Meadows, and we need to be coordinated on that. So that's a great step forward. And the second part of our schools work is really around aligning the approval processes for new schools and expansions to schools at the local jurisdictions. And so we're looking to put some updates to our existing schools policy that's in the regional plan. I believe it's PF8, if I remember correctly, is the policy. And we have some proposed edits. We're working on it. We anticipate bringing that once we get consensus from the staff level to this body. So you can take a look at it and let us know what you think. And if you're happy, then we'll recommend it up to the governing board for final adoption later this year. So stay tuned for more on that front. Our next meeting will be in this room on March 26th at 6 p.m. Thank you.
You bet. Anything from legal? Nope.
No, thank you.
Do we have it?
Oh my gosh.
Uh-oh. Sorry. Your time's up.
My time's up. I know. Mr. Chair, may I please have a little more time? Thank you, Shell. I totally forgot. You may have noticed that at your desk position, you've got a Truckee Meadows regional plan, hard copy. We created these for you. If you already have one and don't want it, you could just give it back to Shawnee. Or just go ahead and take it with you. And as we update the plan, what we can do, I think this is true, we can give you the pages that change and make sure you stay up to date with your physical copy. So just wanted to point out that those are for you.
Awesome.
Good deal. Thank you.
I want to say thank you. Long time coming. Thank you very much. Yeah. Do we have any requests for future agenda items? No, not hearing any. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
No. Any written correspondence?
No, there's none.
All right, then it is 6:47. Meeting adjourned. Thank you.